I'm a little nervous to tell this one, honestly, because it involves some real crime. So I'm going to change a few names here and there. When I was maybe about 17, something like that, my friend moved out of state, and I went to go visit him shortly after. And he picked me up in his van, and he had some kid with him. And for the purposes of the story, he had like a real hick name, so I'm going to give him a fake name that's equally as hick. Let's call him Dwayne, right? So Dwayne's in the back seat, and I'm excited to be in the car and visiting my friend. And Dwayne goes, "Hey man, you mind if I smoke in here?" And my friend's like, "No, go ahead, you know." And then we look back, and Dwayne's smoking crack out of a light bulb. Just, you know, we're like, "Wow, okay." I mean, usually people ask if, can I smoke in here? They light up a cigarette, not a fucking crack pipe, but we're like, wow, Dwayne's living that hard life. And so we were having fun the whole week. And at one point we decided we wanted to get some weed. And it was like, well, who do we know in this new place that can get us weed? Let's call old Crack Pipe and see if he can get some of the soft stuff. So we called him up to see if we could get weed. And he said the saddest thing anybody could ever say to you when you're like, hey man, you got any weed? He goes, no, but my dad probably does. So we're like, all right, let's go meet your dad. So we drive out to this single wide in the middle of nowhere. Just, there it is, like kind of take the dirt road, make the second right at the abandoned couch. And we got out there, and his dad and his stepmom were there, and his dad was this like kind of charismatic hillbilly Charles Manson character, like big hippie beard and long hair. I shouldn't give away too many details. Anyway, so we were smoking weed with this guy, and he would just tell us weird stories. I remember one thing he was talking about. He kept talking about this little town we're in, and he's like, there's one tank that's the whole town's water supply. One day I'm going to go up there with a bucket of LSD and put it in the water supply and sit up in the hills and watch a whole shithouse go into flames, man. And we were like, this guy is fucking righteous. And at a certain point I had to go pee, and I went to go to the bathroom, and Dwayne, he goes, hey man, we don't use the bathroom. My stepmom has got herpes, so we just go outside. So I went outside with him, and I was peeing, and I was like, what do you do when you gotta poop? And he was like, oh, you just poop outside. Like, wow, what a life. The minute somebody tells you they shit outside, you just start looking around like, does he bury it? He doesn't seem like a, bury it kind of guy. He'd probably just be like a leave it wherever kind of thing. Like, was there a designated shit spot? Like, thank God I didn't have to shit while I was there. I just, peeing in a bush is no big deal, but taking a dump in a bush, that's, middle of the night, you don't know the terrain, that's a tall order. So we had this weird evening, and, it was fine. It was, real weird, but it was fine. And I left, and I went home to my state, and a few weeks later, I got a call from my buddy, and he was like, hey man, Dwayne disappeared. I was like, wow, fuck, like, and I'm thinking like maybe he like went on some kind of drug binge or something, or got into some trouble. So I'm like, wow, that's fucking crazy. And he calls me a couple months later, and he's like, you'll never fucking believe this. They found Dwayne hiding someplace, I shouldn't say where. So he was hiding out, and the police found him because he was a missing person. And apparently Dwayne's dad had killed their stepmom. And then the dad got his son to help him bury the body. And Dwayne, I guess, folded on his dad and told him, where he helped bury him. But, I mean, he was my age, man. Like, can you imagine being a teenager and your dad's like, you gotta come help me bury your mama? It's fucking brutal. This isn't so much a fun story. It's just like a spooky, like, campfire tale or something. Like, it's fucked up, man. I still think about it. I'm like, it's just dark and strange and just like a weird chapter in my life. Like, it's just, I don't know, it sticks with me, man. It's just so dark, and I always feel for that kid. Like, clearly he didn't have the best upbringing, smoking crack in the back of somebody's van, but whew, that's heavy. It was a heavy, heavy evening. I mean, not so much the evening. The evening was light and kind of odd, but yeah, no, later finding out, it made it added some weight to it. Anyway, what a life, man.